Before Chanel No. 5 was the most famous perfume globally, it was involved in a war, a legal war, a Nazi-filled scandal, with one woman's mission to snatch back the business she believed belonged to her. That's right, y'all. Coco Chanel, the fashion icon, the elegance queen, and the frickin' low-key villain. Today on Cutthroat Closet, we're going to dive into the history of Coco Chanel. And let me tell you, it's darker than her little black dress. Oh, and spoiler, the drama is far more exciting than the Chanel No. 5 bottle. So who is this Coco Chanel? Well, Gabrielle Coco Chanel. What? Shit, I thought her name was Coco. Anyone else didn't know that? I did not know that. Well, this girl was not born with pearls around her neck. Oh, nay, nay. In fact, she was born into trauma, poverty, and basically a bad relationship with every man she ever had. But she was ruthless, and she clawed her way out of that orphanage to become one of the world's biggest fashion icons. Little black dress, Coco Chanel. Embroidered bags, Coco Chanel. Making tweed sexy, Coco Chanel. Shit, you know what I'm saying? But behind the glamour was a real cutthroat woman. She did not play when it came to men, power, or business, and honestly, respect. The perfume deal that started a war. So let's talk about this perfume deal. In 1921, Chanel launches Chanel No. 5. It's revolutionary and it's everywhere. But here's the plot twist. It did not belong to her. In order for her to popularize this beautiful perfume, she actually needed some partners. She partnered up with two brothers, the Wertheimer brothers. And yeah, I totally don't know how to say that because, girl, I ain't Jewish or German. So these were Jewish businessmen, and they were very, very good at expanding the brand and taking it global. So they offer Chanel this deal, and they say, okay, so with your brand and how famous you are and how you know, it will do well, but we'll produce it, and we will ship it distance, and we will freaking take it global. Girl, we'll take it to the top. You know what I'm saying, Chanel? Don't worry, girl. We got your back. We're going to make it worldwide. And they did. But here's the catch. The deal was less than kosher because the brothers got 70%. Then they had a perfumer, which was Ernest Beau, and he got 20%. And Chanel, dear old face of the business, she got 10%, yo. 10. What the actual fuck? YouTube don't monetize me. That deserved the fuck. So here's a way to break it down. Let's say they make 100 rand a bottle. Chanel, who, by the way, did actually have a lot to do with the scent being made. She was involved in the process. She did not make it. She is not a scientist, but she was involved. It's her name. It's her brand. She would literally get 10 rand. If I'm very honest, if someone gave me 10% of something that was my name and my business, I mean, she was already a fashion icon. She was already famous. Without her, what have they got? Nobody's buying perfume as in demand as something from someone who is a fancy freaking fashionista. But anyway, if that was my case, yeah, I may plot some people's deaths. I would be ruthless. I won't lie. However, at that time, in that era, it was actually a very fair deal because the Wertheimer brothers, I think I'm just going to stop calling them Paul and Pierre. I can say those words. They carried all the financial risk. And Chanel basically was just the face. So they felt, you know, that it's their financial risk. So they deserve a higher profit, which is fair. I don't disagree, but 70%, really? So Chanel takes things into her own hands, and she hated them for this. She hated these men, not just men, Jewish men. And so she wanted the full control of her company. The problem with this was she was known to use anti-Semitic language and slurs against Jewish people. So is that. So let's get into the Nazi era. This is the real N-word, y'all. Right, let's fast forward. We're now in World War II. Chanel closes her boutiques because, you know, war. Who's buying freaking gorgeous dresses during war? Nobody. Not nobody. You know what I'm saying? I'm not buying dresses, even now when it's not war. So she closes her boutiques. I think that's a good business plan. She's not slumming it, let's be honest. That girl's still living in the Ritz. She is full on glamour. And not only is she living in the Ritz, she's living with her officer boyfriend, who just happens to be a Nazi who just happens to be a Nazi officer. Girl, choices. They were made. Chanel saw the Nazi occupation as an opportunity to get full control of her business. So there were the Aryan laws, and basically that meant that Jews were not allowed to own their own business. So she was like, oh shit, check that out right there. These oaks are Jewish. I'm going to make sure they sell their business. So she took her problem to the court and she was like, so I'm sorry, on the Aryan laws, why are the Jewish people owning this business? Hello, let's get rid of them. She was so stoked for her Nazi racial scheme. So she tried to use these Nazi racial laws to her advantage and get the brothers, Pierre and Paul, out of business, basically. So she was like, oh snap, all these people are dying. I think I will just take over and get a business. It's so less than tasteful. I cannot deal. It's like, who cares about a business right now when there's millions of people dying? Mass murder? This means I can own my own business. What were you thinking? Huh? Are you mad in India? What is happening? The perfume heist that backfired. The plot twist. These brothers were not stupid. They saw Chanel coming. They knew exactly what her plan was. So they actually sold this company to a Christian businessman, which they knew and they trusted. And then they fled out of France. So when Chanel presented her case and was like, you know, Aryan laws, they can't own this business. I do know everyone's dying, but my business is far more important. Plus, check, I'm in the Ritz with a Nazi officer, proper hooked up. They were like, sorry, y'all, that's not actually owned by Jews anymore. Honestly, I wish I saw her face. She must have been like, ugh. Wah, wah, wah. Right, now the war comes to an end. What now? So the war comes to an end, and I don't know if you know this, but Chanel was actually interrogated for Nazi collaboration. She, however, was not charged. She did have friends in high places, Winston Churchill, who bailed her out of this situation, which is a little bit irritating because there was a lot of speculation of how much she was actually involved. And there's a lot of designers and a lot of fashion people that were very involved in the Nazi regime. So what happened after she was not charged? Well, this girl, she just headed off to Switzerland in style, of course, and she basically just waited for the smoke to clear. Look, she was ruthless. She wasn't going down for that stuff. In her mind, you know, she was unfairly treated. So, their problem, not mine. So the smoke clears. War's over. Amazing. Thank God that was over. I watched a documentary recently on it. It was dark. Cried, y'all. That's actually, if you do want to watch information on the Second World War and how things went down, because when I was taught it in school, it was very like, this is what happened. But it was like a long, slow process, because I always thought, like, how does this guy come into power, convince the whole freaking world this race, more like religion, is bad, and now we're just all going to get evil and kill people? That was very confusing to me. But when I watched the documentary, it was so interesting. I didn't even know half that stuff. So I'm going to link that video down in the description. It's not a video, sorry, it's a series. It's very good. I will link it down below, or not really link it, but I will just, what the series is called. It's really informational. It's really good, and I enjoyed it. Side note, sorry, let's get back on track. Okay, so Pierre and Paul regained control of their company. Their Christian business friend sold it back to them. Now they own it. Lovely. These oaks got back into partnership with Chanel. No joke. Because the truth was, they needed her. She was the face. And that's what I was saying in the beginning. 70%, fine. You take all the risk, but you're not even the face. She has spent years building this brand. So I do feel 70%, in my opinion, allegedly, just a little bit high, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, they renegotiate. And she owns more than what she did. And they continue with business. So now they continue with business. And today, as we sit here, the brothers, well, not the brothers, because they obviously have passed away, I think. Anyways, the Wertheimer family still own Chanel No. 5. So she did get a better agreement, but she never ever landed up owning Chanel No. 5. Not even today is her family at all owning that. It was all owned by the Wertheimer brothers. However, Chanel remained the face, the myth, and the messy mastermind behind Chanel No. 5. So here's what I want to ask you. This is my mind. Was Chanel a victim? Was she surviving? Was she? Was she just like a woman that was treated unfairly? Because let's be honest, that time women they're not like we are now. They don't have as much freedom. They weren't seen like they see now. So was she that? Was she a victim of that sexist situation? Or was she just bitter because someone out-businessed her? Was it just sexism that led her to really bad decisions? Or was she just a ruthless, cutthroat woman that would do anything to get anywhere? And here's where the question goes deeper, in my opinion. Is buying Chanel right? Is supporting the brands that had anything to do with that regime right? I would love to know your opinion. I find myself battling with this. I don't actually wear Chanel No. 5 or actually any name brands because I have a million kids and I can't afford it. But if I could, is it ethical to support these brands? I mean, Chanel No. 5 is not actually owned by her. So would you say buying Chanel No. 5 is fine because the Wertheimer brothers, they owned it? They did so well, actually. They survived everything that happened in World War II and they still own the business. So are we supporting Chanel or are we supporting a good cause? That is my question to you. Totally comment. I would love to know what you think. I am so confused with this. I don't like Chanel. I've never liked it. I don't like the bottle. I don't like the scent. I don't like her. I feel, in my opinion, I don't like what she did. I think she took advantage of a very dark regime. I wouldn't have been able to do that no matter what it cost me. And there were a lot of fashion houses that actually left. They decided they'd rather close down their business than have anything to do with the Nazis. And that would have been me. Obviously, I can't speak in that time. There's a lot of fear and it was different. So maybe if I had her shoes on, would I have not have done the same thing? You see, this is a great debate. Y'all, comment. I want to know what you think. I suppose at the end of the day, Chanel is iconic. She's always going to be iconic. So now what? This has been Cutthroat Closet, where the fashion is fabulous, but the crimes are dark. Join us next week as we unpack another fashion-filled story. And let me tell you, the closet really does get darker. Bye.